Gaborone, the city of Botswana, has hosted the Toyota 1000 Desert Race since 1981. Gaborone is a bustling city featuring a blend of the old and the new as far as architecture and cultures are concerned. Go! The event rates as Botswana's biggest sporting event and annually attracts tens of thousands of enthusiastic and sometimes unruly spectators. 28 production vehicle and 35 special vehicle teams entered the third round of the ABSA Off-Road Championship, which promised yet again to be a major test for man and machine. Hannes Grobler and Francois Jordan led the production vehicle championship by a hefty margin, but it's the battle for second place that will be watched with great interest.
I love this event because it's very sandy, it's very long. You know, it takes a lot out of the car and also out of the driver and navigator, you know, and the people are just unreal in this country, you know, and they support us. It's unbelievable to see thousands of spectators along the route, and we enjoy it.
Grobler couldn't afford to rest on his laurels.
Alfie is doing very, very well at the moment. I think he's doing better than what anybody thought he's going to do, and I think he'll get good practice in for maybe the Dakar towards the end of the year. And I think he can do very well, and I think he's going to be a threat for us.
The Castrol Toyota off-road team's hopes was pinned on Mark Cronje and 3 other Hilux crews.
Initially, when we started out with the Class E Buckley, it was a huge shell shocker coming to this event, being so long, but we had a fantastic run, and we actually we won our class. And moving up to Class D now, you know, the expectations are quite high. We want to come back with a win. It's a full-time endurance event. Very tight, very, very tricky in certain places to find the route. I find the route schedule going from our Cape Town event to a long-distance event, the route markings aren't as precise. Again, we have the small fundamentals of the local guys moving some of the signage for us, so it does make it very, very tricky. And again, it's going to boil down to keeping it on track, getting it en route, and making sure we carry a fair pace to the end and looking after the vehicle.
Cronje would have to contend with arch-rival and Class D championship leader Manfred Schroeder in the Team Ford Racing Ranger.
Now, the first 2 races have been good to us. As everybody knows, the last couple of years we've just had bad luck, and we haven't done well. We started Sugarbelt with first in class and 3rd overall, and then Cape Town 1st in class and 2nd overall. So yeah, we're looking forward to this event. The car, we've gone through it again. It's ready to tackle the terrain here. Your mindset in this race, you have to change it a bit. You know, you can't go flat out like we had to do the last races, because it's basically 2 races in one. So you have to conserve the car a bit, but I think it's easier on the car, not as hard on the gearbox and diffs as Cape Town was in the thick sand. The sand here being a bit harder. But no, it's a very long race. The body takes a pounding. And Sunday morning you get out of bed, you really don't feel like getting in the car again and doing another 500 k's. So in a race like this, you don't really worry too much about opposition. You know, it's a long race. If you finish, you're guaranteed to do well, and that's our first aim, is to finish. And hopefully, you know, if you finish 1st or 2nd in class, if Mark and one of those guys beat us, they're going to Super D before we go to Super D. So, you know, it doesn't really affect us too much if they're ahead of us. We just have to keep the other guys, with Cliffy Weichelt out now. You know, we've got quite a nice lead, and hopefully carries on like that for the rest of the year.
Class E championship leader Hugo de Bruyn has earned himself a reputation of being somewhat of a giant killer in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i.
Well, the biggest reason for that is we grow up in this area. We grow up in the Kalahari, and it's the same kind of terrain, the same trees, the same grass. So I think I enjoyed it because I learned to drive here, and that's why I enjoy it. And that's why the success rate has been so successful for us here. So hopefully we can keep our success rate that high this year. Yeah, I think the biggest competition will come from Chris Visser and Zane Pierce. I mean, they're all driving Hiluxes. I mean, that's the best Class E vehicle to race in. And there's only a few points difference. I mean, the smallest mistake can cost you the race. So we have to concentrate and keep our concentration high so to keep the lead. That's why we have to do that.
You know what, the problem is once you start going for a record, that's when Murphy steps in. Yeah? So we're going to just try and take it easy. Usual recipe, you know, steady, get consistency going properly, and then see if we can get to the front. But, you know, when you chase a record, that's when you start having to be very extra cautious. You know, shoot your mouth off when you don't want to do that.
Why did you start counting?
I don't know. Somebody asked me, when was the last time you broke? You didn't finish a race. So I said, well, I don't know. So we started working it out. It came to somewhere around 2003 with my brother. And then we worked it out. We were at 16, going 17 now. And I thought, yeah, well, that's not bad. I don't think anybody's ever done that. The problem with counting is Murphy's Law steps in and then, well, anyway, it's a record. Either way we cut it. Even if we don't make this one, we've done it anyway. Nobody else has done it, so that's cool.
There's been a shake-up in the Bosal team since the Nissan Dealer 400.
Well, we all know the last race down in Cape Town, Cliff had a nasty accident hitting that tree at one massive speed. And then Marius put his vehicle in and advertised it and thought we'll race this year and then build either an SP car or a space frame car, and then a good knock on his doorstep and the guy wanted to take his vehicle, price he got, and off he went. So it left me alone in the vehicle and then started to look for another member that can ride with us, and jumped on our Cliff's back and said, come on, here is the opportunity, let's go for it. Spoke to Yaku, and there it is. He was running the vehicle under Bosal's name, or Bosal, Luke and ATE. So we're looking to fly Bosal's banners high for this year, the rest of the year, and we'll enjoy it.
Neil Woolridge decided to focus his attention on building the new super production Ranger, so it was up to Schroeder and Rubeluza to fly the Ford flag.
First of all, it's the 1,000 about it, yeah. The 2 days and also the rough sections in the track, but more especially the sand. When you get to the sand, more especially if you run in the middle of the pack, then you have problems because all the guys up front start digging the sand. So in this time around, we're trying to see if we can put a bit more effort on the prologue so that we're not way back. But as last year, if we finish this event, we're hoping we'll do well.
The drivers tend to grab the limelight, but navigators have an extremely important role to play in the cockpit.
It's very difficult to say before time how the navigation is going to work out because of the route changes. Every year they change it. Sometimes we've got the rocky sections, sometimes the sandy sections. I reckon a navigator's biggest job on a long event like this is to pace the driver, not to tell him to go slower, but to pace him, and to make sure that the car comes to the end. And of course in the time trial, the prologue as we call it nowadays, it's very important not to make mistakes and to try to set up the quickest time, have a clean run and get through it. The overgrown sections is very difficult, especially up at the DSP. I remember 2 or 3 years ago we were leading and there were no tracks to follow. The instruction says follow obvious route for 5 kilometers. There is no obvious route. They put out the markers with a motorbike or something, and I had to get out of the car and get on top of the roof of the car to look for markers. So the people in the helicopter was getting frantically excited up there because they could see the route and we couldn't see the route. So from a navigator's point, and I think it's very frustrating for a driver as well, if you don't know where to tell him where to go. That is most probably the most difficult thing on this route.
Terence Marsh and Michael Whitehouse, like Krobler and Jordan, have a comfortable lead in the Special Vehicle Championship, but would have to be watchful of Gary Berthold and Siegfried Rousseau. The battle in Class B would be between 4 highly competitive teams.
Well, we've had two good events to start the season. Obviously, it's been a little bit easier with a new car. We don't bring a lot of headaches from the past as such, so we have a new developed car. We are still developing the car and trying to get the setup right. In the beginning of the season, we've just tried to be exactly that, just consistent and bring it home.
And what about the challenge of the rest of the competitors in Class A? Because certainly they're gunning for you.
Yeah, I think it's a very exciting year. In the last couple of years, there's been a significant growth in Class A. If I look back on this, reflect on this year, there's like 8-9 cars in excess of like 200 kilowatt on the back wheels. A significant amount of power and money that's been spent, which is very exciting. I think it's great for the sport. From our point of view, it just makes it that much tougher, and just something that we need to work hard on throughout the year.
Former quad rider Evan Hutchison and Trevor Ormerod were supremely competitive in the Class B motorized racing bat.
Yeah, we're at the desert now. We've got 1,000 kilometers ahead of us, which is a very long way, and it's a super tough race. The competition in Class B has been quite close up until now, although we are in the lead. We can quite easily lose that lead with such a long race ahead of us. So what we're here to do is finish the first day, and basically the second day, unless there is someone in front of us that we need to push a little bit harder. But as all the racing guys know, that this race is famously hard, and we just want to get to the end. That's our main objective.
2000 Toyota 1000 winner Mark Corbett missed the first 2 rounds of the ABSA Off-Road Championship.
Business pressures got a bit heavy at the beginning of the year, so we had to miss the first 2 races. But luckily for us, our competitors haven't had a good run, so we're only 1 win down against our main competition. So I still think we've got a good chance for the championship this year, and we're going to go for it. We like the desert race. We've won it once before in A class, so we rate our chances here.
Richard? Well, to be honest, I'm actually having fun. That's my senior priority. And if I beat him while I'm doing it, I think it's great. But the reward for me is that I can at least finish the race and have a ball. But we're competitive. You know, we try. That's the whole idea. You know, we don't get out there and knit. Sometimes I do. Then my son-in-law shouts at me. Then it gets me going again. But, you know, he's got youth on his side, which is in this race, I think, is a big advantage. You know, 500 Ks of this sort of terrain it's tough on the old body.
Look, it's wonderful to be back home for somebody who doesn't live here, and the fan support is huge. You can't imagine it until you come here. You see what I have as in the form of support here. You know, there's so many people behind me. They're wishing me well. They were shaking hands, and it's a good feeling. You know, you don't get it every day in life, and one has to respect them and give them the time of day.
The 40-kilometer prologue produced